Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel if you're not new here. Here I'm going to show you how to make your very own cloud stencil using Cricut Design Space and a Cricut Explore. Let's jump into the Cricut software. If you open it up on your desktop, we'll get into it. So once we have Cricut open, we just want to make sure we go and get a shape. Just a basic square is fine. And you want to change the size to suit what size stencil you would like. Here I'm going in with a 5" by 5" square. And I'm just going to change the color just so it makes it a bit easier to see the second shape. We're just going to pick a circle and we're going to drag it over and we're going to weld this to the square. So all you need to do is keep changing the size of the circle, and we're just using it as a semicircle. So if you just keep duplicating and making sure they're overlapping with each other and with the square and just alternating sizes, you can even unlock the shape and make it more oval. And it's all just about being a little bit random and just trying to get a nice scalloped edge as if it's like a cloud. So you just want to make sure that you keep playing around, keep changing the circles. And once you've done that, you select the whole lot and you weld it. And as you can see on that side, we have our first cloud shape. We're then going to select it and rotate it just so it makes it a bit easier to line up the way we want to. And we're going to add some more circles. And just so on and so forth with each side, making sure you've got a bit of randomness, a bit of different shapes and sizes, and then that way it'll give you really good results in the end. So once we're all done, I am just adjusting the size to be the size that I want, as once you've welded it all together it goes smaller. I've changed the size to the one that I would like, and now we click make it, and we're just putting it on our mat where we want it to be placed. Picking our material, I have just some A4 magnetic adhesive paper. So in the Cricut materials, I've just found something that's the closest to it. We'll have to do a cut and see how it works. I've added more pressure because I know that my magnet paper is slightly thicker and I will probably have to cut it more than once, but we're just going to send it over to the machine. So once it's been sent to the machine, I have my magnetic paper here. Because my paper is quite thick, I'm just using some painter's masking tape here to stick it down. My mats are very well used, so they're not that sticky anymore. Once I've set the machine to cut, you'll see that I will check it after it's gone through once without unloading the mat. Because I know it's thicker than it should be, I knew it wouldn't cut. So I've gone and set it to cut again a second time without removing the mat, and I actually do it a third time also because it's quite thick. So I want to make sure I get a nice clean cut with nice clean edges. So because the back of my magnetic paper is sticky, I'm actually going to grab a piece of acetate that I had on hand, and I'm going to cut the exact same shape out so that I can stick it to the back. I have done a previous one of these with paper, and I realized that obviously because we're going to be inking a lot, it is going to eventually wear out. You can always just cut another piece of paper and stick it on if you like, but because I had this acetate on hand, I just figured this would be a really easy thing to use. It'll last a lot longer and you'll be able to clean it really easy with just a wet baby wipe. So I went through and I cut this. I checked to see if it cut through. I guess my settings weren't correct again, so I've just gone through, left it in, and cut it for a second time. Once I peel it off, I just make sure that the cloud is facing the same way as the magnet, and then I stick it to the back. Obviously, if your magnetic paper isn't adhesive, then you can just skip this step. But so far, I've only been able to manage to find A4 magnetic paper that has the adhesive backing, which it's not a big deal. I just do this quickly. It's not that bad. Once it's all stuck down and ready to go, I'm going to bring it over to my desk and give you a little preview of how it works. I purchased this foil quill magnetic mat for my foil quill, obviously from We Are Memory Keepers, where you can hot foil using your Cricut. Also, I have just a baking silicone mat. It's just a cookie mat from the house, and that just stops it from sliding around. Now, because the square part there with the grid on it is magnetic, using the magnetic paper means that you don't have to worry about holding your paper or anything like that, because the magnet is doing it for you. So once I've gone down the whole piece of paper, I then go over the actual background with a really light hand just to blend in the clouds a little bit more, and you can see how effective that stencil makes it, and that makes great backgrounds for cards or pictures or anything you like. And you'll see here it's a really easy cleanup now because I used the acetate on the back of that magnet, and even if you just had the magnet, it's so easy to clean. So all you need to do for your magnet stencil is just give it a wipe with a dry cloth. If there's a bit too much residue on there, you can always use a bit of water or anything like that. I normally just go over with a bit of a dry cloth. Here I have a bit more of an older baby wipe. It's not that dirty, but it's quite dry. So I just give it a spritz with water to rub my brush off. And then I do this every time I use these brushes because I just find that it makes it so much easier, and I don't have a lot of them, so I can use them for different colors with the same size brush. I then just give it a quick dry and it's good to go for the next color. Here I'm going to show you a quick little example of a card to make with this kind of background. Here I have some balloon die cut shapes. I'm going to grab some scrap paper that I have here in this plastic pocket and just use it to cut out some different coloured balloons, and I'll just do the base in black so that my strings are black, and then that way I can build up on top of the base of the balloons with all the different colours. Off screen here I'm just running these through my die cutting machine. I have a Sizzix Big Shot die cutting machine. Any die cut machine will do just fine. Once I've cut the base black out, I pop it out of all the spaces, and I'm using the whole one for this. And then I'm going to go through and pick all my different colours, and then that way it doesn't matter, sort of you can have any little scraps in, because you just want the actual balloons for this part, so you don't need to make sure the whole of the die cut is fitting on the paper. I'm going to jump ahead and fast forward this next part for you. I've just gone and cut all the coloured balloons that I wanted, and now I'm just using my scissors just to trim off the actual balloon parts, getting rid of the strings there because I want them to be black, and that's what we did with the base. Once I've gone ahead and cut out all the balloons that I will need, I've got some extras there so I can pop them to the side and use them for another card later on. I've just laid out where I want what colours, and then I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive and stick all of them down to the right spots, coordinating so that they don't have any black outline. Using a decent amount of glue just to make sure it stays nicely. Using liquid glue makes it easier to line them up. You've got a bit of time to reposition them if you might have them a little bit crooked or anything like that. This one's just quite a tacky, quick drying glue, so it's good. It gives you a bit of time, but not so much time that they move around if you move it in between. I then decided that I didn't like that the bow was black, so I decided to go ahead and just cut the bow out of some pink paper, and I only did the bow. I know it doesn't make sense that the strings are black but the bow is pink, but that's crafting, folks, and we do what we like, and it doesn't need to make sense. It's called being creative. I'm going to flip this over and add some foam squares to the back, just so it props it up off the back of our card a little, giving it some nice dimension. I've just cut one in half here for the smaller balloon, just so it doesn't stick out the edges, and I've cut an even smaller piece just to go behind where the bow and the strings meet. That way it won't sort of lay flat and sort of stick to the background and look funny because it's sort of coming out of the card. This way the whole thing is level and it won't get squished or anything if you are sending it in the mail. So once we've removed all the backing from our foam squares, we're going to place it in the middle of the card here, just so it looks like it's floating in the clouds there. I am going to grab my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen in the clear, just to go over the balloons and give them something a little bit extra, because who doesn't love a bit of sparkle? You can do this with some embossing powders if you like, or some glossy accents to give it just like a clear coating to make them look sort of shiny and glossy and just bring them to the next level, make them look a bit more like balloons. This way I'm just adding some glitter and on the bow as well, just to make them look a bit nicer. Here, as I pick up the card, you can see how much shimmer the Aqua Shimmer pen actually gives the balloons. Anything you put this stuff on just makes it 10 times better. I absolutely love the Nuvo shimmer pens. I think I might go and get some of the ones in the colours as well. I'm just going to add a little happy birthday sentiment here with some VersaMagic chalk black ink. I do love this ink as it's archival, so once it's dry it's set and you shouldn't be able to smudge it with anything, no water or anything like that. And then I'm going to mat my background onto a card base. Here I just have one ready to go. Don't mind the back of the stencil here, I was practicing with some more clouds. Just using the liquid tacky glue again, just so I can reposition it if I don't get it quite centered. And once we push it down, I like to be a little bit finicky with this part because I always get fingerprints on my cards, so this way I just try not to. And here we have the finished product. I hope you like it. I hope the Cloud Stencil is helpful for you.